If you are tired of predictable teenage movies filled with clichés, these hidden films deserve your attention. Submarine follows a quiet and awkward teenager named Oliver Tate who tries to control every part of his life like a film director. While dealing with his parents' collapsing relationship, Oliver also attempts to maintain his first serious romance. The movie combines dry humor, emotional loneliness, and realistic teenage anxiety in a surprisingly authentic way. Its calm atmosphere and beautifully melancholic soundtrack create a unique independent cinema experience. Instead of exaggerated drama, the film focuses on small emotional moments that slowly build strong character depth. Oliver's inner narration makes the story feel personal, uncomfortable, and strangely relatable at the same time. The visual style also gives the movie a nostalgic feeling that separates it from mainstream coming-of-age films. If you enjoy emotionally layered stories with subtle humor, this film can easily become unforgettable. The Art of Getting By tells the story of George, a talented student who has completely lost interest in life. He spends most of his time overthinking the future instead of caring about school or relationships. George constantly observes the world around him while emotionally distancing himself from almost everyone. His perspective slowly changes after meeting Sally, a girl who understands his emotional isolation better than others. The film avoids dramatic twists and instead focuses on realistic emotional development between its characters. Its quiet storytelling style feels grounded and believable from beginning to end. Freddie Highmore delivers one of his most natural performances in this emotionally restrained coming-of-age story. The movie also explores the fear of adulthood in a way many young viewers will immediately recognize. Rather than forcing emotional scenes, it allows conversations and silence to carry the emotional weight naturally. Charlie Bartlett introduces a wealthy teenager struggling to fit into his new public school environment. Charlie unexpectedly becomes popular after students begin visiting him for emotional advice and psychological support. What begins as harmless conversations slowly evolves into something much more complicated. The film cleverly mixes comedy with serious themes surrounding identity, pressure, and teenage insecurity. Its humor feels sharp without becoming unrealistic or exaggerated. Robert Downey Jr. delivers a memorable performance as the frustrated school principal trying to manage the chaos. At the same time, Anton Yelchin gives Charlie a strange mix of confidence and emotional vulnerability. The movie also highlights how desperately teenagers search for someone willing to actually listen to them. Even years later, the film still feels surprisingly modern and emotionally relevant. The Way Back centers on Duncan, an insecure teenager forced to spend the summer with his dysfunctional family. He feels invisible most of the time, especially around his mother's emotionally manipulative boyfriend. Duncan struggles with confidence and rarely speaks openly about his frustrations. Everything begins changing after he starts working at a small water park during the summer. The friendships he forms there slowly help him discover confidence and independence. The film captures the awkwardness of adolescence without turning its characters into stereotypes. Its warm summer atmosphere makes the emotional journey feel even more personal and nostalgic. Sam Rockwell delivers one of the movie's strongest performances as the eccentric water park manager. His chemistry with Duncan becomes the emotional heart of the entire story. The film ultimately shows how small moments and supportive people can completely transform someone's self-worth. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl follows Greg, a socially awkward student who avoids emotional attachment whenever possible. He spends most of his time making strange amateur films with his best friend Earl. Greg's emotionally distant lifestyle changes after his mother forces him to reconnect with Rachel, a classmate diagnosed with cancer. Although the premise sounds emotionally heavy, the movie balances humor and sadness extremely well. Its dialogue feels natural and intentionally uncomfortable in many scenes. The movie avoids becoming overly sentimental and instead focuses on genuine human connection. The friendship between the characters develops gradually and realistically throughout the story. Visually, the film also experiments with creative editing and unusual cinematography choices. These artistic decisions help the movie stand out from traditional teenage dramas. By the end, the film leaves a powerful emotional impact without relying on manipulative storytelling techniques. Paper Towns begins with Quentin becoming obsessed with finding his mysterious neighbor Margot after she suddenly disappears. He follows a series of strange clues that lead him across multiple locations and emotional realizations. At first, the story feels like a simple mystery adventure centered around teenage romance. However, the film slowly becomes more focused on identity, expectations, and emotional projection. Quentin eventually realizes he never truly understood the person he idealized for so many years. The movie explores how young people often create unrealistic versions of others inside their imagination. Its road trip atmosphere also gives the story a refreshing sense of freedom and movement. The supporting characters contribute humor and emotional balance throughout the journey. Rather than offering a traditional romantic ending, the movie chooses a more emotionally honest direction. This realistic approach helps the story feel more mature than many similar young adult adaptations. Adventureland follows James, a recent college graduate forced to work at a small amusement park during summer vacation. What initially feels like a disappointing temporary job slowly becomes an important stage in his emotional growth. The film captures the uncertainty that comes with transitioning into adulthood. James meets several unusual co-workers who each influence his perspective on relationships and responsibility. The chemistry between Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart feels surprisingly subtle and realistic. Unlike exaggerated romantic comedies, the emotional tension here feels restrained and believable. The movie also recreates the atmosphere of the 1980s in a very natural way. Its soundtrack perfectly matches the nostalgic emotional tone of the story. Many scenes feel simple on the surface while carrying strong emotional subtext underneath. Because of this, the film becomes more emotionally rewarding the longer it continues. Nick and Norah's infinite playlist takes place during one chaotic night inside New York's underground music scene. The story follows two emotionally confused teenagers who unexpectedly connect through music. As they travel across the city searching for a secret concert, their relationship slowly develops. The movie successfully captures the emotional energy of youth, nightlife, and spontaneous decision-making. Its dialogue feels quick, natural, and surprisingly genuine throughout the film. The soundtrack also plays a major role in creating the movie's emotional identity. Rather than focusing only on romance, the story emphasizes self-discovery and emotional honesty. The nighttime setting gives the film an energetic yet strangely intimate atmosphere. Michael Cera and Kat Dennings create believable chemistry without relying on exaggerated romantic scenes. This combination of music, awkward humor, and emotional sincerity makes the movie highly memorable. The spectacular now centers on Sutter, a charismatic teenager living entirely in the present moment. He avoids thinking seriously about responsibility, adulthood, or long-term consequences. After meeting Amy, his emotional perspective slowly begins to change. What makes the film special is how realistically it portrays emotional immaturity and fear of commitment. The romance feels grounded because both characters are emotionally flawed in believable ways. Miles Teller delivers one of the strongest performances of his career in this role. Shailene Woodley also brings emotional sincerity and vulnerability to the story. The movie never romanticizes destructive behavior or emotional instability. Instead, it honestly examines how unresolved personal issues affect relationships during adolescence. The emotional realism of the dialogue makes many scenes feel uncomfortably authentic. Safety Not Guaranteed begins when several journalists investigate a strange advertisement searching for a time travel partner. The mysterious man behind the advertisement claims he has already traveled through time before. At first, the story feels absurd and intentionally comedic. However, the movie gradually becomes more emotional and introspective as the characters grow closer. The film uses science fiction concepts to explore loneliness, regret, and the desire for second chances. Its emotional themes become stronger as the mystery surrounding the main character slowly unfolds. Aubrey Plaza delivers a surprisingly emotional performance filled with subtle vulnerability. The relationship between the characters develops naturally through awkward conversations and emotional honesty. The movie also keeps viewers questioning whether the impossible might actually be real. This balance between realism and fantasy gives the story a uniquely emotional atmosphere. These films may not be the most famous coming-of-age stories ever made, but each one offers something emotionally authentic. Instead of relying on stereotypes, they focus on loneliness, friendship, uncertainty, and personal growth. If you decide to watch one of these movies first, share your choice in the comments below. And if you want more underrated movie recommendations like these, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.